Hello, everyone. This is Donna D, aka the Urban Mommy, and I am back with another podcast. This entire week we have been talking about different issues that most of us go through, and most of us kind of get stuck because we don't know how to deal with it. So, today we are going to be talking about what's next, and that's like the next step. And we have Lauren St. George, and she is going to join us. She is a creativity expert and change facilitator. Good. I'm happy to have you here. So I love your title, creativity expert and change facilitator. Please tell me more about that. That sounds like something I would like to do.
Well, creativity is something that we can all do. It's really is how we solve problems, and there are methods and ways that we can grow our sort of problem solving muscle and get better at problem solving and being more creative, coming up with solutions. So that's an area that I focus on is really helping people come up with solutions and creative thinking. And then change facilitator, I think we all hit periods in our life where we're looking to make a change. Sometimes it can be pivotal, like, it could be you're an empty nester, you've just had children, you want to change career. And so I help to facilitate that. I help to, help people through that process of thinking about what they want to do next and putting the plan in place to make it happen.
Okay, nice. So I hear you have an accent. So where are you from, Lauren?
I am originally from South Africa, but I've lived in America for longer now than I lived there. So um,
Okay. South Africa. Okay. So you still have the accent. That's nice. So where did you grow up, in Africa or here?
I was a teenager when we moved countries, so a bit in both countries. Yeah,
Nice. Okay. So, and you're here now.
I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
I travel a fair amount around the US, but home is Atlanta.
Okay, so do you do most of your traveling? Do you go out and you talk to others about the creativity process and having change?
I do some speaking around the country, but when it comes to coaching and in the consulting work that I do, most of that at this point is still remote, which allows me to work with people all over the place.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I know you also help people with startups. What type of work do you do when they need startups? Do you like help them with paperwork, or is it more of a fixing their mindset?
When it comes to startups, it usually is around their branding and marketing strategies. So really, how do you stand out in a very busy marketplace these days? What is authentic to you? How do you really speak to your customer, your clients in a way that is really going to resonate with what they need? So that tends to be where I work with startups is really around marketing, sales, and branding.
Okay. When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you consider you would ever think you would be doing what you're doing now?
Oh gosh, when I was younger, I think it's changed over time, but I think initially it was definitely within the arts. I've always was interested in films and videos, and I actually started my career on that side of things. So there's been a central thread of creativity throughout my life, whether that's in artistic pursuits or in more sort of business problem solving areas.
Okay. All right. So you said that there are 5 questions that everyone must answer when they are trying to when they're trying to change their life, correct?
I think that's a good place to start because while they're simple questions, they're not necessarily easy to answer. But I think if you can answer them, you'll be well on your way to getting from a place of feeling unclear and stuck to having a lot more direction to where you want to go to. So the first question is around really taking stock and looking at who am I right now. Um, and that means looking at your strengths. It looks at looking at your experience, your expertise, all of the things that make us up, as well as weaknesses, because weaknesses at a certain point in your life are no longer really things that we should look at negatively, but they maybe will help you in terms of direction. Are these areas that I just don't want to go into? So, for instance, if mathematics is an area of weakness, you might not want to be an accountant, right? So it just helps to guide you and to really focus you on how do I maximize my strengths, how do I use my experience and expertise, and what's important to me, what am I passionate about, what are my interests. So really, I think it's about reacquainting yourself with yourself, what's important to me. The second then is to ask yourself, what's your goal? Where am I trying to get to? And for some people, it can depend. What is it? 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Where do I want to be? Um, and then I think the question that goes parallel with that is why? Why do I want to get there? Because I think when you can fundamentally understand why you want to do something, you now understand your motivation. And that becomes the thing that you can tap into again and again and again when things get tough, or when you had to take a step backwards, or when maybe you're not heading as quickly as you want to towards that goal. Uh, the next question to ask yourself is, what are the things that are standing between me and that goal? So, what are the obstacles and challenges that I face that are going to stop me from getting there? Because you then have the opportunity to answer that. How do I overcome those obstacles? And put that plan in place that's going to help me to overcome those obstacles. And I like to get people to sort those obstacles into uh, what I call sand, gravel, and rocks or boulders. So the sand is really it's the little things. They're the easiest things to overcome. And then you work your way up to the boulders, which might be the things you cannot move, or they're going to take a lot more energy and time to get around. And for everyone, it's different. Do you want to tackle a boulder first because you're going to feel like you've moved down the road a lot further, or do you want to take care of the little stuff first because you're going to get some small wins, and that's going to motivate you to keep going? It really depends on the individual in terms of what they want to start with, but that's your plan, is really what are you going to start with and how are you going to attack that. And then I think the final piece is looking at, what am I scared of? What are my fears? What's holding me back? Because that's the mindset piece that you asked about. And you can have the clearest idea of where you want to head and a really great plan to get you there. But if you don't understand your mindset and the things that are going to come up uh, as you're going, the things that are going to sort of hold you back, that are, yourself, those internal obstacles, then you're never going to get to that goal.
Okay. I may have missed one. I had the who am I, strengths and weaknesses, the goal, which is our why, obstacles, and then I have fears. Which one am I missing?
Well, I put the why with my goal. I think the first
Gotcha.
one is who am I? So it's like, who am I? Where do I want to get to?
And
What's
why?
stopping me? How am I going to overcome these things? And then, what's my fear?
Gotcha. Okay. So when you discuss a why,
Hmm.
is money ever a good enough reason for it to be a why?
Depends what you're going after. For some people, yes, so that's a very legitimate why. But I think that it can be a surface answer. And so an activity or exercise I like to do with clients is called the five whys. So if money comes up as your first why, I would challenge you to peel that onion back and ask, why is money important? Because I think that it you will get deeper and you'll get more to the core of it. um, and it may very well be that money is because, in Maslow's hierarchy, there are different needs that we have, and financial is a need. So for some people, that's a very real why. For others, it might be that there's something more deeply seated in there. So I would certainly say push yourself, and it's not an easy thing to do because you have to be really honest with yourself. But the more you can peel that onion back and really get to the core of what's motivating you, what that why is, the more successful you'll be, because that's your driving force.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about creativity. So
Hmm.
when I'm thinking of creativity, I'm thinking of being able to, be creative, I guess, artistically. How else, what other creativity are you speaking of?
So creativity is actually the ability to come up with new and novel ideas. So we often get creativity, I think, the word mixed up with artistic ability. So
Mm-hmm.
you will use creativity in order to come up with maybe what you're going to draw or paint. because you're problem solving.
Okay.
But you do not need to be artistic to be creative. So
Okay.
we use creativity on a daily basis, from everything from what route am I going to take to work, to what am I going to, when you open up the fridge, what am I going to cook tonight, because you're going to start to put ingredients together. That's kind of little c creativity. Um, and so our ability to solve challenges is really what creativity is about, and it's coming up with new and novel ideas that can help you to solve things.
Okay. So what about for people that procrastinate a little? How how do you try to motivate them out of, like you say, inaction? How do you get someone up and getting them about going about their day?
Well, I think you have to first, understand why the procrastination is there. Because there are times when procrastination could be a response to something else that's happening in your life, and you might need to deal with that first.
Right.
On the other side of that, I think is understanding that there's motivation, and there's action, and they are a sort of a cyclical thing. There are things where we are really motivated and it's easy to do action. There are other times, like when we'd much rather sit on the couch, binge watching TV and eating potato chips, where we have to force ourselves into action to go to the gym and work out and lose the weight. So there are times when you just have to force yourself to do something, because once you start doing it, you'll have the motivation and the momentum to keep going. There are tricks and there are ways of getting yourself to get off that couch and go and do something. And there are small things you can do, like what's the first activity that I can do that's going to take me 2 minutes, to at least start the momentum. So it may be looking up where's the closest gym. It might be driving to where the gym is so that you know the route. If yoga is something that you want to start doing, it might be actually just finding where your yoga mat is because it's hiding in the back of the closet somewhere. But what's
Right.
that first 2 minute thing that you can do that can start you on your way? And the next day, choose another 2 minute thing. It might be I need to put my workout clothes out so that tomorrow morning I might go and walk for 5 minutes. Whatever those small incremental things are, because the more you do them, the more you stack them up, you will soon find that you're doing the thing that you've been avoiding doing.
It becomes a habit. Okay.
Hmm.
So when is the best time to make a change? So let me go back to myself who procrastinates and I want to start doing better and being able to actually do things and get stuff accomplished. When is the best time to start working on it, or is there a best time?
Today, right? We have a habit of putting things off, and I think for many people, it's fear, or we're wanting to do it perfect the first time, and we never do, right? So it's being okay with starting and maybe not getting it right the first time. It's the fact that the time that we have is finite and we can keep waiting for the right time to come. But ultimately, there never really is a right time. So the sooner you can start, the sooner you actually can hit that goal that you're after.
The better. Gotcha. Okay, so what about people that don't have a support system, that does not have supportive friends or family? And a lot of times I see people start businesses and then they get upset because their family and friends aren't supporting them and then they quit. So what
Mhm.
advice do you have someone that does not have a strong support system?
If you're starting something new, my advice is be careful about who you tell that to, because you certainly don't want someone to say, "Why are you thinking about that?" or "You shouldn't do it," before you've even gotten out of the gate. So I think you need to be circumspect about who you share things with. If you don't have anyone in your life that you can share that with, then you need to find them. And there's a variety of ways that you can create that support system. One would certainly be to, depending on what it is that you're starting to do, is to find a community of people who are already doing that, because you're now going to have a commonality between yourself and that group. Whether it's starting a business, choosing to join a community of small business owners, you're going to be with people who are like-minded, but you're also going to find some mentors and people who can help you along the way, because maybe they're further down the road than you are. So there are certainly resources and things out there where you can find support systems, that allow you to, get further down the road and then maybe share with certain people, look, I've started this business and it's actually going well, or I've signed on X number of clients. Now I feel okay about sharing it with other people. So I think you do have to sort of nurture and be protective of new ideas and new undertakings, if you don't have support in your life.
Okay. Can you tell us what is imposter syndrome and how does that affect what we're talking about now? What's the correlation?
Imposter syndrome is often when people feel like they're going to be found out, that they've hit a certain success or level within their life, and they think that they don't deserve to be there, and that they're going to be found out, and then they're going to lose that position. I think we all feel it at some point in our life, and we typically feel it about the things that we care most about, because it feels threatening that maybe someone might take it away. I think what you have to do is step back and take stock of how you actually got there, because you didn't just fall into it. There has been work and time put into getting to where you are, and so I think you need to step back and really look at what are the steps you've taken to get to where you are. What experience and expertise are you using that has gotten you to where you are today. And I think that if you can really look at the fact that you didn't it didn't just miraculously appear. It's been a process. You've taken time to get to that place. And hopefully it reacquaints you with, there is a reason why you're in the room, and that it's valid, and that you've earned that place. And again, I think it's remembering that it's usually a fear about something that you care about. And so it's not to be pushed away. I think you need to deal with it, but do realize that pretty much everyone has faced it at some point in their life. You're not alone in feeling that way.
Okay, and that was actually my next question. Do you find that people that suffer with imposter syndrome, do you notice that they typically have low self-esteem?
That's a good question. They, I think it varies. I think for some people they have low self-esteem. I think for others they have just fear of losing that thing that they have. I think oftentimes imposter syndrome is around career, and so there's definitely a fear that again that thing could be taken away. And yes, if it is low self-esteem, again, stepping back and taking stock of how you got there and what it's taken to get you there. I think we often forget the journey that we've gone on to get to a place. And if you actually step back and you write down, actually take the time to write it down, and then it becomes something you can keep going back to. Anytime that voice in your head comes up saying you don't deserve to be here, you can look at what you've written down. I think the more we can put things on paper, the more we can make them tangible, the better, because we actually have really poor memories, and we tend to remember the negative more than we remember the positive. It's that's another way to really help you, again, to remember that journey that you've been on.
Okay. So, what about people that you mentioned earlier? You said that some people are afraid to get it wrong. They don't want to mess up. Do you actually see that a lot? Do you run into a lot of people that have that issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it comes from a variety of places, but one of the big places it comes from is our school system.
Mm.
You're taught that you need to get the right answer the first time. You're graded on your ability to get things right. That's our grading system. We're not teaching people that you need to actually fail to be successful, because it's the steps that you take to get to where you're going, and that you can learn a lot from failure, that's going to help you in the next step that you take. So, yeah, I think that, and there certainly are there plenty of other reasons why people fear failure, but I think we've been taught that because we don't, as a society, I don't think we take on that innovation mindset of you get something out into the world, you learn, you iterate on it, you make it better, you keep going, and that's how we if, for instance, the Dyson vacuum cleaner, if they put the first version out people gave them negative feedback and they never tried again, they wouldn't have had a successful product. Yet they talk about, I think, having 200, 300 different versions of something before they got to place of success. If we could be kinder to ourselves and be more in that sort of innovation mindset, I think we'd get a lot further. And we could temper that fear of getting it wrong by going, I'm a beginner in this, and I'm going to learn as I go, and I'm going to have fun, and try to shift the mindset from I've got to get it right the first time.
Yes, fear is, it will definitely hold you back, and a lot of us, like you said, we learn that from school. We don't want to
Mm.
get anything wrong, and we think that failure is sometimes the end all, and it's not really the case. I'm a broker, so we do insurance, and I like to tell the agents as I'm training them, just like with the medical, this is a practice. Just like law, this is a practice. You're going to get things wrong. It's okay. Things are constantly changing. So this is what I tell the agents to help them, so that if they do get something wrong, that they know how to put it behind them and make it better the next time. What are some of the things that you tell? I know you said for the imposter syndrome, you tell them to write down like their achievements so that they can look back and see. So what are some other things people can do to overcome fear?
Well, I think one is to understand how our brains work. We are designed biologically to seek comfort. We like predictability. We like patterns. We do not like things to change. And so, when it comes to the fear of change, fear of failure, it's really understanding that your brain is biologically, designed to keep you safe. And so, oftentimes with change, when new ideas are presented, we immediately go into fight or flight. We knock it down. You've often seen people, share a good idea, and people are like, "Nah, that's not going to work. That's not a good idea. We don't like that," and they start to knock it down. That's an automatic response to something that we perceive as threatening. Like I like to say, we're not being pursued by woolly mammoths anymore, but our brain is there to protect us. And so, anytime we perceive a change, we see something that feels threatening, which could be as simple as an idea, we're going to try and knock it down. So I think when we understand how our brains actually react to things like change, when they react to failure, we have the opportunity to say, okay, that's my first response, but is that response accurate? Is that truly the worst case scenario? How can I deal with this? um, it can be noticing there's that little voice in my head saying you can't do this, and proactively going, yes, I can do this because, and qualify it. But you have the ability to say that thought that's in my head is not me. That is something that has been programmed in there. It might have come from somewhere else, and I choose to change the talk track. Our brains are really powerful things. And so, I've seen in my own life, doing things like practicing gratitude have fundamentally shifted my sort of how I look at the world and being more positive. We have that ability with our brains to really reprogram and to put in the things that are going to help us to be more successful.
Okay, yeah. So mindset is big. Are you into NLP?
I'm not, but I do know of it. Yeah.
Okay, because you sound the same. The stories are, they sound similar, because just like they say, it's mostly about the mindset and training your brain to see things differently. And I think that's big, especially with overcoming fear. Even with imposter syndrome, because I never heard of that until I started doing podcasts. I never heard of it. I just thought that, I just didn't think that I was good enough. I would just continue to go back to school. I would get degree after degree. I would get the degree. I have a master's degree. I was like, okay, let me go back and get this. And it
Hmm.
always felt like I never had enough. Like, okay, let me get another class. And I think that was the me going through imposter syndrome, thinking that I wasn't good enough to sit at the tables that I was sitting at. So it's definitely a lot with the mindset.
It is, because you need to look at, did anyone actually ever tell you you shouldn't be in this room? Are you inferring that yourself, or has someone actually said it? Because if they haven't said it, then to sort of look back at yourself and go, why do I feel this way?
Right.
Is it true, or is this me, listening to that voice in my head?
Yes, it's that's important to ask, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of people, a lot of times, if we don't go to therapy, if we don't have someone that we trust that we can talk to, or if we don't hear it on podcasts, we may not know what this is going on. So like all this time I have been dealing with imposter syndrome, but now that I know what it is, I can educate myself on it, and then I can start working with my brain.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So another question I have, and a lot of women, especially the last couple of generations, we think that once you get married, once you get your house, two kids and a dog, picket fence, that means we've made it. We're done. But there's a what's next. So what's next? I have my house and I have my spouse. What's next?
I humans are funny. Every time we hit a goal, we tend to change the goalposts. So we're never quite happy wherever we land. So I remind people you need to enjoy the journey, because oftentimes when you hit the goal, you're just going to move the posts again. It changes for people. Some people hit a certain point, and yes, they've checked all the boxes. I have the kids, I have the dog, I have the spouse of the house. But I think you need to look at your life and go, do I feel fulfilled? And fulfillment is, at least the framework I like to use, is that it's a three-legged stool. And you know that if one of those legs is feeling off, you're not going to feel fulfilled. So the three legs are, do I feel that I am taking care of myself? Oftentimes in those situations with family and spouse and all of these things that are pulling us in different directions, am I taking some time for self-care? That can be big, that can be small. It's whatever you need in order to feel like you're taking care of yourself. Do I feel like I have things in my life that I am engrossed in? And that doesn't have to be work, but do I have things that really give me joy, that I like to do, that time sort of slips away, because I'm really engrossed in what I'm doing. So again, it can be hobbies, could be work, any number of things. Spending time with my kids, it could be any of those things. But if you don't feel like you have something that is bringing you joy, um, and that you're finding yourself, throwing yourself into doing, then that's one of the legs of the stool is off. And the third is am I giving back? That doesn't have to mean that am I giving money, donating money to charity, but for some people that can be. But do I feel like in some way, shape, or form I'm giving back? It could be to friends, it could be to my children, it could be to any number of people. But I think if those three things are in place, you will feel more fulfilled. And if something is off, that is typically what spurs us to go, I'm not feeling happy. I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like I need to find the next thing. And the next thing doesn't necessarily mean I need to leave the kids and the spouse in the house. Um, but it is then looking towards, well, what's the next goal that I want to set for myself, because that's going to be, in some way, it's going to connect to one of those three legs of the stool. It might be I want to start my own business. I feel like I want to throw myself into something. It might be I want to take care of my health, which is more self-focused. So it'll be some kind of activity that connects to one of those three things.
Okay, so if one feels that they are not fulfilled, I'm glad
Hmm.
that you said that we don't have to necessarily leave the job or the husband or whatever. But what are some things that we can do if we are not fulfilled? Is there, like some people say, they have to go find themselves, maybe? So what can we do if we want to find ourselves and become more fulfilled?
I think you first have to figure out what part of your life you're feeling that in, right? So I like to talk about eight dimensions, and now that you're asking me this, I'll see if I remember all eight, because I don't have them in front of me, but they do revolve around really looking at a 360 of your life. So do I have loving relationships in my life? Am I being social with others? And am I socializing, leaving the house, being with friends, those sorts of things? Um, Financially, do I feel like I can check that box? It's getting the time and attention that it needs, or does it need more time and attention? Career is another, because the two don't always have to be connected to each other. There's plenty of things that you can do for passive income or investments or any of that kind of stuff that can be financial but is not career based. For some, it's looking at spirituality, and that can be anything from religion to, am I meditating, practicing yoga, any of that sort of thing. Um, physical and mental health. Am I spending the time on those things that I need to? Um, I think the other is around mental stimulation. Am I doing things that are helping me to keep growing? Am I learning? Am I challenging myself? Am I growing? Um, and I cannot remember. Oh, environment is the last one. Do I like where I'm at? It can be anything from looking at your immediate environment around you to broader. So, do I like my house? Do I like my neighborhood? Do I like my city? Do I like the state? Do I like the country? It could be any number of those things. But am I happy with my environment? So I think you first need to look at those kind of 8 areas and go, which one of these needs my attention next. They all need your attention, but which one do you think is lacking right now? So I think if you can narrow down, first of all, what part of your life is is needing that time and energy, you can then start to really look at those 5 questions, like what is my goal for this area of my life? Why do I want to put time and energy here? What are the obstacles that are stopping me from reaching this goal? What's the plan I'm going to put into place, and what's my mindset that's preventing me from doing this? So those 5 questions, coupled with what part of my life can help you to figure out the next thing.
Okay. So, how important is fulfillment? I know it's a weird question. The reason why I'm asking is because a lot of times you know this, but I'm clarifying for the visitors, the viewers. I'm sorry. A lot of people are going through life and they are not fulfilled. Some people are not happy, and some people are just outright miserable. So everyone does not get fulfilled. So if you're not fulfilled in life, it's not the end of the world. Lauren, you can kind of speak on that. What's like, do a lot of people actually see themselves being fulfilled?
Oh, I think it varies and changes over time because our lives change and things happen. Uh, oftentimes I get the question about purpose, and I absolutely say to people, don't go seeking your purpose in life. That's the worst thing you want to do, because you'll find your purpose by doing other things, but don't intentionally focus on that. So I think you have to step back from that. So I look at it as like purpose, fulfillment, and then happiness or joy.
Perfect.
So starting with, do I have things in my life that make me happy? Am I actively doing things to bring happiness into my life? Because I do believe happiness is a choice. We have happy moments that will naturally happen, but happiness, I think, is a choice. So first level, am I happy and have things in my life that bring me joy and happiness? Then I think you look towards fulfillment and you look at those 3 areas that I talked about. And I think that if you are feeling, if your stool is stable and all 3 legs are feeling good and you're feeling fulfilled, you're going to find that the things that you're most passionate about are going to link you to your purpose. But I don't think you can go searching for purpose first. And I don't think
Right.
you can necessarily go searching for fulfillment first. I think you first have to start off with, am I genuinely happy? And if I'm not happy, then what do I need to work on first?
Okay. All right. So as we near the end of our interview, I like to ask the question: if you can go back in time and talk to 17-year-old Lauren and give her some advice for the things that she would be experiencing in the next couple of years, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that things pass, that they're not forever. And that can be both in a negative and a positive way. But on the things in life that the roadblocks and the things that you hit, they're temporary, and this too shall pass, right? Because I think we often find ourselves in situations where we believe there is no way out. And I think we have to remind ourselves that things do pass. Um, the other thing I would remind her is consistency, because oftentimes we get these ideas and we go off and launch businesses, and then they don't quite go the way we want. And we got to remind ourselves that, being consistent with what you're doing, and you will start to see the fruits of your labor. That things don't just happen overnight. So that's probably the 2 things that I would tell her.
Okay, that's good. So keeping gotta patience is important.
Mhm.
So, is there any way can you let everybody know how they can follow you, how they can keep up with what you have going on?
Absolutely. The best place to find me is my website, which is answerwhatsnext.com. And there you can sign up for my weekly newsletter where I share some tools and things that you can bring into your own life every week. You can set up a call with me if you're interested in finding out more about my coaching or my programs that I run. And so that's the best place to start.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, I want to thank you. We were trying to set up some time a while back, but we both have, busy schedules, but I am so happy that we were able to reconnect because this was well needed. I try to make this podcast entertaining, but also something that can help someone. And a lot of people, I say a lot of people because I'm usually talking about myself, we have issues with fear and imposter syndrome, and it's all like you mentioned, happiness is a choice, and I try to get people to understand that it's all in your mindset. Like literally,
Mm.
so many things could be going on around you, but you have to find the happiness. Like literally, I've been kind of all over. My car was stolen like 2 or 3 days ago,
Oh,
so I'm dealing with that currently. But I can sit around and be upset and be angry and all kind of stuff, but it's not going to change anything. All it's going to do is make everything else start going down, because you know how they say once it rains it pours, and
hmm
it will if you allow it. So I'm using everything that I learned in these podcasts, and I hope that the viewers are also learning. Like, don't let fear stop you. Fear is serious. Don't let fear stop you. Just stay consistent and think about your life. Think about what's next. You got to make goals. I think I try to remember everything that was the most important. But I appreciate you again so much, Lauren. Thanks for joining. I hope everybody goes and follow you. And I guess y'all can leave me a comment as a message. Just let me know how this helped you, because every time I learned something that I didn't know. So y'all tell me something that y'all did not know before we spoke with Lauren. All right. So that is the end. Thank you. Thank you all for staying, and thank you, Lauren, for coming on. If the Lord says the same, I will see you all next week. Remember to like, subscribe, share, follow, and tell a friend about us. Have a good day.